Be aware of your thoughts. Your mind's not a cage, it's a sacred place. So guard the gates with wisdom and grace. You become what you believe and feel. Your thoughts are real. Your thoughts are real.
Peace, and welcome to Be Aware of Your Thoughts. This is how manifestation works. Here, we remember that a mind is not a cage. It is a sacred space. My name is Dr. Cynthia Marie Whitley. Today, I have an extra treat for you. This talk will be followed by a meditation, so stay with me until the very end. The topic for today is, in my Father's house, there are many mansions. So get ready. There is a statement made in The Stranger's Secret by Earl Nightingale that has stayed with me for years. He said, "The human mind is the last uncultivated continent on earth." Now, that alone should make us pause, because if everything else has been explored, built upon, and developed, then what does it mean that our minds remain largely untouched? My father used to say something very similar, though in his own way. He would say that when God created the world, everything was already complete. Nothing was missing. Nothing was lacking. So all the begging, all the beseeching, all the asking God to give us this or give us that was unnecessary, because God had already provided the means to acquire whatever we desire. And Scripture says, "And God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good." One of my favorite authors, Neville Goddard, echoed this truth when he said, "Creation is finished." So here's the question that very few people are asking. If creation is finished, if the mind is the last continent, and if God already gave us the means, then what exactly is the way? What is the secret? What has already been given to us that allows us to create a life by design? A tool we use every day, often unconsciously. Ask yourself this: how did everything in your life, the good and the bad, come to exist? You didn't accidentally manifest your life, or I should say, we didn't accidentally manifest our life. We used something. We all did, and even children use it. In fact, especially children. What we are really talking about here is imagination. Pure imagination is the starting point of everything we have ever created in and as our lives. Just listen to the stories of people we call successful or famous. Almost all of them tell you the same thing. They saw something before they arrived. Jim Carrey is a powerful example. Before he had money, before he had fame, in childhood, he had hardships, like living in his family's van after his father lost his job. He wrote himself a check for $10 million and carried it in his wallet for years. Years later, when he starred in Dumb and Dumber, he was paid $10 million and is estimated to have a net worth of over $80 million today. Tyler Perry tells a similar story. Suffering physical and sexual abuse as a child and other challenges, he used all his savings to produce his first play. I know I've been changed. Only 30 people showed up. He lost everything, but he never abandoned his vision. He stayed faithful to the end he imagined, and he kept taking action until the world caught up with what he already saw. This is not coincidence. This is law. Now examine this with me. Picture a mansion, a very large mansion with many doors to rooms, where the only key needed is your intentional imagination. Each door represents a state of mind, like joy, fear, confidence, doubt, hope, prosperity, sadness, love, contentment, desperation, passion. There's so many more words that we can use that represent, I want to say, feelings. In life, we move through many states in a single day, sometimes changing minute by minute. You can be happy in the morning, frustrated at noon, despair in the evening, but there is usually one dominant state that governs your actions, our actions, decisions, and beliefs. And the rule is simple. The more uplifted the state, the more pleasant the outcome. The more fearful or depressed the state, the devastating the manifestation. We've all heard the scripture, "In my Father's house are many mansions." This can be interpreted many ways. As I like to say, there are over 144,000 ways to interpret a situation. But I invite you to consider this interpretation I'm giving you today. Those mansions are states of mind, and we live from one of them at all times. If the mind is the last continent to be cultivated, if creation is finished, then every possible state already exists. Joy already exists. Peace already exists. Prosperity already exists. We don't create them from scratch. We enter them. And there's the key. You enter a state of mind by imagining yourself living from the end of it, and by consenting to it with your beliefs, faith, and feelings. That's how manifestation works. We attach emotion to a thought, and that emotional agreement gives the thought permission to harden into experience. Most of us do this unintentionally. We imagine what we don't want, feel it deeply, and then wonder why it keeps appearing. What about imagining what we do want and feel that deeply so that that could harden into manifestation? If you don't like what is showing up in your life, you don't need to beg the universe to change. You need to knock on another door. Another state is already waiting for you, already waiting for us. Why? Because it was created in the beginning. Let's delve deeper into this idea of a mansion. I need you to imagine a mansion. If you're looking at the video, you can see all the different emotions on the doors in the mansion. If you're listening to the podcast, then you just have to imagine it. Imagine a large mansion with many doors, with feelings on each door. Got that in your head? Now knock on the door of the state you desire. You could desire sorrow, joy, passion, fear, love, or AWE. Knock on it. Ask to enter it. Knock and he will answer. Knock and God will answer. Knock, and source will answer. Ask, and you will receive. If you've seen the movie Sinners, you'll remember the message clearly. You must ask to be invited in. And if granted, you may enter. The beautiful part about this is that God gives us what we desire. And once you enter, you've entered a contract to live from that level of experience, that level of existence, or to live from that level, period. You show your dedication by dedicating your faith and feelings and actions that embody that state. Each state has its own requirements. It requires faithfulness for sure to the idea and will, or I should say, must be met. It's the law. For example, sadness requires thoughts of doom and equates to poverty. Fear requires endless thoughts of doubt and creates limitation. Confidence requires thoughts equaling success and creates expansion. And prosperity requires thoughts of prosperity and creates opportunity. Because Source is non-judgmental, it will grant us our wishes. And what becomes manifested is based on our choice. If we don't like the manifestation, we always have the option of choosing a different door. The key is to be aware before we choose, before we knock. Think about what will be required for you to align to the state you choose, because alignment will happen and alignment is necessary. We are all, in a sense, prodigal sons and daughters, returning to the Father's house as we change states of mind or states of awareness. I'm sure that's happened to most of us in our lifetime when we realized we were going down the wrong road and it's like, oh no, I'm going to change this. And you changed it. Well, we get to do that every time we wake up. It's all about remembering that. We were given free will in the beginning. We choose which state we serve. You can know about many states, but the one you inhabit is the one you manifest. And by inhabit, I mean the one you dwell in, the one you stay in for a long time, the one you go back to in the evening when you say it's time to go home. You can know about many states, but the one you inhabit is the one you manifest. Want to know which state of mind you live in most of the time? Look at your mood most of the time. Look at what keeps repeating. Look at your circumstances or manifestations. Examine your feelings most of the time. Look at where your imagination goes, especially when you're alone, because there are many rooms in your Father's house. And the one you dwell in, I'm going to keep repeating that, most of the time is the one that becomes your life at any particular time of your life. So I'm going to close this part of the talk. And now, as I promised, we're going to do a meditation. And you're going to choose your room. Before we end, I invite you to just relax. Take a few moments. It might take a few minutes, but that's all. Just a few minutes out of your 365 days in a year. I wish I knew how many minutes was in the year. There's a nice song about that. But I invite you to participate in a bonus meditation that will allow us to explore our imagination together, wherever you are. Make sure you are in a safe place, not driving, but sitting, lying down, laying back. Begin by inhaling through your nose and exhaling through your mouth. You're going to do that 3 times. I'll do it too. That's called grounding yourself. Now let your body soften. If you feel yourself being tight, loosen up. Just relax. Now gently ask yourself, which room, which state in the mansion of your mind are you in? Which state have you been spending most of your time in lately? Is it sorrow? Joy? Passion? Love? Or AWE? Think about it. Take a minute. Remember, this is not the one you want to be in. This is not the one you think you occupy most of the time. Not the one you talk about most of the time. Be honest with yourself. This is the one you return to when no one is watching. Notice it. Without judgment. Remember, awareness or consciously seeing is not a punishment. It is permission to choose life and live. You're not wrong for being where you are. I am not wrong for being where I am. We are simply informed. And information is power. That's what's meant when people say that we are powerful beyond our imagination. So now, we're going to knock on the door. So think about the mansion again, because now we get to consciously choose. See the long hallways. See the many doors. Choose one door you're curious about. It might be labeled peace, confidence, stability, joy, freedom, prosperity, wholeness. Remember, just think of feelings. Do some of these feel familiar to you? Do some of them feel heavy? Do any of it seem inviting yet unfamiliar? Knock. Now imagine walking up to the door that you desire powerfully, already desiring the manifestation that you can imagine that would appear at the end. Silently say to yourself, I am willing to live from this state. From this state. From, because you are imagining what the outcome would be, what the manifestations would be. You're living with that in your mind. Now ask yourself, what would I believe if I lived here? Think about it. How would I move through my day from this state of mind? In other words, what actions would you take? What would I stop telling myself if I lived from this state of mind? What would I begin to expect? You don't have to force anything here. You don't have to figure this out today, because you can come back to this podcast, this YouTube channel. You could come back. Go forward to the meditation as many times as you like. Just stay with it. Stay with me. As you visit the room, just use your imagination. Imagine the feelings you would feel. Come back to that room as often as possible. The beautiful thing is the beautiful results you desire already exist. That's what was meant when they say creation is already finished. That's what was meant when they said cultivate your mind. We get to do that. That's our privilege. We were made in God's image to imagine. And it will be good if we imagine that it will be good. That's the part we play. That's the beauty of life. Life begins to rearrange itself based on the rooms we enter. That's the beauty of this thing we call life. Looking for the beauty of life? It starts with your imagination. Being aware, because we imagine whether we're aware or not. Like I said, what we imagine is what we get. We may not think we're imagining the things that show up in our life, but we are 100% control of our imagination. We are. On this level. Yes, we have source. Yes, we have God. Yes. But it said that God gave you this. He made us in his image to have dominion. Dominion over what? Let's begin with our thoughts. Remember, I'm taking you down the road of my imagination. What I've come to believe. That's what I'm sharing with you right now. So I want you to remember as we end this meditation, as you come back to the mansion in your free time, there are many rooms in your Father's house, but the one you choose to dwell in, the one you take up refuge in, the one that you call home. That's the one that becomes your life. So until next time, be aware of where you live within. And with that I say, peace. And now, a bonus song for you, letting you know that we get to cultivate this mind. Peace.
Be aware of your thoughts. Your mind's not a cage, it's a sacred place. So guard the gates with wisdom and grace. You become what you believe and feel. Your thoughts are real. Your thoughts are real. Be aware of your thoughts. They plant the seeds for all you've got. Every dream, every fear, every choice that you make starts with the thought you daily create. Be aware of your thoughts. They're the architects of all you saw. What you repeat becomes your truth. Your inner words don't need a booth. They echo out into your life. They spark your joy, they stir your strife. Your mind is soil, your thoughts are seeds. Grow what you want, not what you fear or need. You are the sower, the field, the sun with these